What you should have at this point is concept ideas and some sketches drawing of where you're going to go for this next storyboard. And again, the theme, jump off point, was Humpty Dumpty. So what we have established from there is that we're going with egg-shaped characters. And where you can go with that is anywhere. So I got two totally different ideas. One that I took so far and then abandoned and then went with another one and did a final storyboard. So on this one, I went the space theme. That was our theme for our 3D drawing. So I kind of worked with that and thought it would maybe be fun with an egg character and working that up. So at this point, you should have some drawings of that character so you know who it is that you're dealing with, and kind of thumbnailing and figuring out what's your story, what's going to go on. So I have some little thumbnails here and working up, some dialogue and trying to figure out where I'm going to go with this. So again, I was doing some key panels, and as described before in the past, and I showed you some samples of doing a comic strip, which you do not have to do in this case. It's more showing that you can do some key scenes and then figure out your cinematics from there. So here's another one taking that idea further. Here I did a complete rotation, which we do not have to do with this project. I am going to do a separate video showing you a 3/4 front, 3/4 back of your main character, which I'd like you to do and submit along with your storyboard in the final. So in this case, I did a full rotation, just a good exercise, and again using that T-square to line everything up. So very similar in design that we did a plan view with our hammer project, but here we're doing a rotation of complete rotation of that character so we know that character inside out. And we can use the straight side, the straight front, and even the straight back. If this was a 3D film, the final production, you could actually construct it from these. But for us, and I'll show you the rotation I am expecting, it's a drawn 2D production that we're looking at. So we'll look at it in that vein. So here's working out those key panels of the story and what's happening. Having more attempts at dialogue, trying to figure things out. But again, these were done more as a comic strip with word balloons and such, which we're not getting into at all. But same creative process of figuring out your concept, your idea, and where you're jumping off from. So I took those roughs, and you probably won't be able to see this very clearly, but I started cleaning that up and working on my composition and details and working that out. Again, what we're not doing here is this I did inked in, or started to do inked in comic strip panels, but you can kind of see that story and the dialogue working. And yeah, a couple of samples here where I started in different areas, kind of working up some of that. So that was just showing process and, just how many drawings you should be going through. And I'm not showing anywhere near the drawings I was coming up with this failed attempt. Here is another rotation, but this one's more accurate to what I'm going to get into later on and what I'm expecting of you. And for your story, you should be using views like these two for, if not your entire storyboard, the majority of it. 3/4 front, 3/4 back. Over the shoulder shots and 3/4 front for most of your action, dialogue, and everything that's going to be taking place. Should be that 3/4. So we are getting into our 3D shapes for everything and abandoning our 2D shapes. Whereas, 3D forms. My mistake. Getting them confused. But anyway, so that's just showing some creative of I went with a space theme and was trying to work up a story and such. But then I revisited things. And again, at this stage, up to this stage, last week and all, you should have been thinking of all sorts of different ideas and making some ideas and notes and drawings and maybe some dialogue ideas and defining of character. And hopefully you did it several times and really started working out which is the best one. So I kind of went back to the very beginning here and went back to the original nursery rhyme and kind of worked up this. I thought, okay, Humpty Dumpty and the wall. I will keep the two of them, but it's a whole different type of wall. So I made up a new nursery rhyme here and had Humpty Dumpty went over the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a fallout with the law. So I kind of made up my own whole new story with that. And that's kind of, the direction I'm going to go with the story. And my character is a bad egg, and he's in jail, and he's in a prison yard, and he makes a break for it. So, getting to that point, and again, looking at lots of ideas, trying to figure it out. But breaking it down, who's your character, male or female? Are they young, middle-aged, old? Is all this taking place in the past, present, or future? Is there an occupation, a hobby to the character? Well, I guess his hobby, occupation is criminal. So I work that out. Then the whole theme of your story. And what kind of different culture, where are we in the world? Or what are you creating as your own world and working that out? Then working up a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Keeping it simple. And hopefully this sample keeps it simple as well. So all started off with trying to do a key scene of something, and that's where this direction started to take me. So I kind of stuck with this one. I don't know, just having a little fun with this, and had an idea where it could go. Again, doing up some key panels here, and again, this I took it to a storyboard. Not storyboard stage, but a comic strip stage, which you do not have to do. But the idea of doing some panels of action. The beginning of your story, the middle section, and how it wraps up and ends at the end. And again, I'm doing it in 4 panels like a comic strip to keep it simple, but also trying to work out my cinematics. What's my camera angles? What are my scene changes? Scenes don't really change, but trying to find out where the camera is moving to be able to tell that story. So let me move on this one. And again, still working on and refining that character. Different views. And I do have another character who shows up near the end, and that's a police character who nabs him as he tries to make his prison break. So mostly focused on the one character. So again, trying to keep it simple. So here's that kind of drawn out as a comic strip. Again, the whole idea of word balloons and such is why I abandoned us doing a comic strip, because it's print media. It really has different confines and dimensions to work with, and I want to keep it simple, that we're working storyboard with the 16:9 format, making that work. But since I had these, kind of working in cinematics, even a comic strip style. So we're inside the courtyard or prison yard, and our Humpty Dumpty prison character throws a grappling hook, says, "Time to make my escape." Now he's on top of the wall, and we're on the other side. We moved the camera over to the other side of that wall. So we can see the grappling hook, him coming over, and him saying, "So long, coppers." So I'm kind of doing a retro thing, more like a prison thing from 30s, 40s old films, black and white films, keeping that sort of feel. And as he jumps off, he's going, "What the?" And there's Patty Wiggin with the top open, all ready for him. And we got a little prison guard, policeman, egg character here. And then we see him inside the Patty Wiggin with the bars, and him saying, "You have to hatch a better plan than that to outwit me," and our little character there. So pretty simple story, 2 characters, 1 real location. We do have a big prop here of a police wagon here to get him, as well as grappling hook, and our environment, basically brick walls of showing the prison, but trying to give some idea, time of day, and a little guard tower and things here, just to give us so we know where we are and what's going on. Okay, so from there, that process, and hopefully you've got this kind of worked out at this point, even if it's nowhere near as polished as this, but you got a good idea where you're going. Now, thumbnails. It's starting to work things out more in cinematics. What are the poses, and what is the camera changes, and thinking more dramatic, or thinking more of many more poses, and thinking of it as a cinematic and how that works. So with 1 page, I was kind of working up all little poses, all my scene changes, and trying to figure out where dialogue might go, working that out a little more carefully, kind of rework that again, a little more refined in my thumbnails here, using some pencil. Maybe you can see that a little clearer, and just showing poses and expression changes, emotion on the character, and using some different angle shots and things. So I got a clearer idea of where things are taking place. So it's that process. One of the things I started to do here is work out a floor plan. Where is this all taking place? Even looking at some shots in different angles that I ultimately didn't use, but explored all the possibilities in this simple story of all the different camera angles and possibilities. So I started to look at that. Well, let's look at this one first. As a floor plan. So I've got my prison yard here. Here's the wall. Here's the wall. Here's the guard tower. Looking at where that character would be, the grappling hook on the wall, and then the paddy wagon, police truck here, ready to pick him up. And I'm starting to figure, okay, I've got a camera here. I'm going to have a camera looking up from here as it goes up over the wall. I have a camera over here, or even got one much closer on the top of the wall, and then one down at the truck, and then figuring out where the prison guard is. Here's that dotted line. I'm going to keep my cameras all within this range. So then I'm keeping that left-right orientation and my action flowing in the same direction, because I want to make it very clear. I want to make sure the audience can follow this and not get confused. The next one here, I did a side view. So not only are we looking at positions of camera from left to right and where it's set up, but here I was looking at height. Because I have a tall wall, I got to figure out where the camera is. So I have one camera down here. My opening shot is looking straight at the egg at eye level. And then I have a shot, a couple shots later on, where it's very low and looking up as the egg character throws the grappling hook. So I have a very ground level looking upwards shot. Then I have the camera way up here at the top of the wall, so we can see that action. And then I was planning a shot of the camera looking down, but I abandoned that one, but I played around with it and see if it would work or not. And then a camera down close so we could see the guard egg and the criminal egg inside the paddy wagon with the bars and such here, and seeing that action. So planning things out, make life much, much easier. Then I started roughing out the story and what panels am I using and what's the composition. How close am I on the character? How farther away am I going? And what is the posing? So I did these roughs on the final templates there that I have, but this is where we could use the rough template and start working out shots more to size. And they can be rough, but starting to experiment and play around with those compositions and, you know, what sort of poses, expressions can we use to really sell the story. Okay. So working all that out. So going through those steps, and that's where we have to be getting to now, is doing a thorough thumbnails, really exploring all the cinematics, taking that idea to the next level and thinking movie on that. So hopefully you have some key scenes, you got some story ideas, you're starting to refine or really defining who your character is, identifying who your character is. Now we're going to refine and we're going to really start looking at shots and poses and things. All right. So the next part here is the final storyboard, of which I have my version of the story. So done in 6 pages. So again, 6, 7 pages ultimately is where you want to go, and try and have more poses than scenes. Try to avoid scene after scene with just one pose, is trying to get several going on here. So I've got that here. So I've got scene 1 and pose 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. So again, I've the labeling really important, making sure we have that 1 out of 6 pages, that we have your name. And The Great Eggscape is my title. So doing a play on a movie title, quite unrelated to what my story is. And then really making sure you have those action notes to make sure we understand what the visuals are. And using those red arrows to indicate the action going on. So I got him looking one way, the other way, so he's suspiciously looking around. Then I cut a little further back from a close-up to a mid-shot, so we can see these walls a little better. And we see a very good, hopefully a strong silhouette of him bringing his hand up and then reaching behind his back and describing that. So there's been no dialogue at this point. You know, it's the one character going through a lot of actions. And then that carries through. So there's 3 poses on that scene too. So as he reaches behind his back, and now he pulls out that grappling hook that he's had hidden from the guards and going to make his escape. So he has expression and such here. And the action notes that really reinforce what that image is. Then we cut even further back. So we get to a farther shot. And actually, here we are on the second page in scene 3. We have an establishing shot, really, is where we can see the overall picture, see where we are, and see what's happening. And now we can see more of a direction of what he's doing. So we hooked up this shot to the previous one. Hang on, I'll take a drink here. And we have another pose, 2 of 2, of him starting to wind up as he's going to throw that over the wall and be able to shimmy up it. So I do a cut so that we're very low angle looking up. So I've got perspective on that wall, showing that that's that camera I was indicating down on the ground and looking up at the wall. And then I have a second pose of him throwing it. And we see that going up in perspective up near the top of the wall. So that pose, this one. So he rotates right around from a 3/4 front, but very low shot, to a 3/4 back, that low shot. And now we have another shot of which there is scene 5, and there are 4 poses. So first we see the grappling hook come up, and I did a little shorthand here of doing a pose A, a pose B, showing the grappling hook coming into the shot, and then clicking on to the side of that brick wall. Then we have our character coming into the shot, and then him turning. And finally, first time we have dialogue, and it's the convict. It goes, "So long, coppers." And again, all of them have action notes describing what's going on for clarity. So we have one more pose that we're moving forward. So here's scene 5, pose 4 of 4. And we have the cut because we're going to be changing a new scene. And this continues. So we have him climbing into the shot, turning, and then him climbing up over. And again, he's dimensional. He's got depth. So we're showing perspective and different angle structure on that character. And this is why we do those rotations. We're going to work on a rotation so that we know that character from front and back and from different perspectives and such. And now we cut to shot 6. Here we are, page 4. We're just getting to scene 6, and there's going to be 3 poses here. So we're seeing that action that carries over from the camera being on the left side of the wall to now moving over to the right side of the wall. And it's still, the camera is low looking up on that angle. We just framed it so we can see that action clearly. That grappling hook. Here it is from the back and the rope, and on this side we can see that the grappling hook has got the edge of that wall here and how we climbed up it. So expression, getting a pose. Next one, the wall's in the exact same, everything's in the exact same position, but now that he's up there, he's getting ready to make a jump, which is all how it describe as I'm saying. What I'm saying is almost exactly what the action notes are here. And then he jumps, and we have our little red arrow that he jumps out of frame, so we're left with just the wall there. So that's that third pose. And some fun little thing as he's jumping and getting, a nice silhouette, and having a pose that shows, what we'd look like in a jump. And his little hat kind of lagging behind, that he's jumping, the hat will follow, but not at the same rate. Okay. So cut, so we're going to page 5, which is here, and we go to scene 7. In this shot, we have, description outside the prison yard. We've cut out further, so now we have a new establishing shot, a far shot, so we can see now outside of the wall, and we have that recognizable guard tower and the brick wall, and we have our little police guard down here and the paddy wagon and the police truck here, taking a look, so we can see the relationship of everything. Oh, so I did use that high shot. Again, it's been a while since I've done this one, so revisiting it. So yeah, so now I've taken that camera. It's almost this camera, but it's come in closer, and now we're pivoting, looking down. So the camera's from that high angle, and we can see our character. And what I should have here is so he's coming into the shot here. He's coming into the shot as we came closer, and he comes in and he falls into the paddy wagon, and then those doors come close. So 2 poses on that one, work it out. Now we come to shot 9, so the end of our 5th page, and there's going to be 2 poses mid shot. So we're down at ground level, eye level with this police officer, and we see that action continue of our convict. We can see the bottom half of him here as he comes in and falls into the shot. And then the second pose, here's page 6, the last page, and him now coming up and holding onto the bars and angrily looking at the prison guard. And this is where he delivers his line. And now, since he's talking, he starts that dialogue here. We have guard. You have to hatch and then split that sentence. So now we've cut in closer to scene 10, and it's 1 pose because it's just dialogue here, and it's very little dialogue, so it's going to be a quick shot. Guard, a better plan then, and again, I broke this down quite a bit in different shots. And then cut scene 11, of which there's 2 panels of him. Again, I'm hooking this up. He brings his little baton here as he's talking. So I'm thinking action, poses. What's the policeman doing? Not just sitting there talking. He's emphasizing his dialogue by bringing his hand up, his baton, and then he points at our convict in the paddy wagon with the bars. And this little mark here is that tip or the top of that baton, billy club, coming into the shot, and our character here looking at it and looking miserable, and him finishing, the guard finishing his sentence, going, "You have to a better plan than that to outwit," and then the very end, me, and that old style of having this iris kind of come in. It's not the camera coming in, but the instead of fading to black or something like that, have this iris coming in and lingering on his face and his dejected expression. And then we go to the end and final up the story. Okay, so all in 6 pages, 11 scenes. Almost every scene had at least a couple of poses, maybe 1 or 2 exceptions of that. And many of them had multiple poses, 3, 4, 5 poses going on. So this is what I'm looking for, and I'm hoping this is where you can refine and get your storyboard working to this degree.